Hello, all, and welcome to the Fantasy and Sci-Fi Fanatics podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Coolbaugh, and I have with me today a very special guest, Mallory Kuhn. Mallory, how are you today?
Hi, I'm doing well. How are you?
Oh, excellent, excellent. Thank you so much for coming back so we can finish off the questions. If you guys haven't yet checked out, make sure you check out our first episode with Mallory. It was a Sunday a couple weeks ago, and we were just clicking and vibing, and a lot of cool things came out. And I don't like to stop people and go back to my questions if that happens. And figured we'd come back and try again and strike lightning twice in the same spot. So
love it. Yeah.
So we're gonna go ahead and like I said, we're part 2 right here for Mallory's interview. So we're gonna start off with question 4. So once again, you can find this episode on YouTube, Spotify, as well as Mallory's first episode with us. So Mallory, how did you do your research and set up this heist novel? I'm really interested in this one because, like I said, I'm doing a heist as well, and I'm just curious how you researched and set your novel up.
Yeah. So this one was the most research that I've done for any of my books so far, for sure, and the most outlining and re-outlining and re-outlining. So for research of what I did, I am a pretty law-abiding person in general.
Fair.
Right? Ultimately a good thing in general. Yeah. But in order to get into the brains of my very not law-abiding citizen characters, I needed to learn some stuff. So I read a lot of historical books about outlaws and highwaymen and stuff like that. I read a few books on things like actual historical con men, and then a book on art heists, which was kind of interesting. Cool. And then I read a book called How to Cheat at Everything, which was anyone who's read Among Thieves, basically any of the smaller scams that you'll see Tristan running in the book. I learned all of that from this book, How to Cheat at Everything, because I don't know how to run small table schemes. Yeah. I guess now I do. So, watch out. Yeah. don't play cards with me. But yeah, so that was how I kind of learned about, I guess, the different ways that the characters would operate. And then once I kind of had the characters and that type of that side of their personality figured out, I built my world out. And then that gave me another set of rules. And then the magic system gave me another set of rules. And once all those pieces were on the table, it was actually, I won't say it was easy to build the heist because it wasn't. And I did have to rebuild it 3 times because, something just didn't quite shake out when I was writing it. But I will say having all those players on the board made it so that there weren't 1,000 different paths that could be you know what I mean? It kind of really forced me to think, if this was real, if I was actually doing this heist, there's not that many options for ways that this could shake out in a positive way for our little heist crew. So yeah, I did do a bunch of different iterations of it though. There was a lot of editing, but hopefully readers are satisfied with the end product.
Yeah. Well, that's why I was curious, really what you did to set it up, because, like I said before, I've had quite a few friends, who have read the book and have really enjoyed it. I'm trying to wait a little bit here. Like I said, I'm trying not to get myself in trouble by too many books at once. But yeah, I'm really excited because I have yours on the docket. I have a couple other people who are really kind of in the same realm. Right now I'm reading Clayton Snyder's River of Thieves, and then I'll be kind of keep going there for the Thieves genre, and kind of the assassin ones too, just because.
Just keep it all morally gray.
Exactly.
Home base. Yeah.
My friend, he goes, "What are you trying to do?" And I was like, "I think you forgot I was writing a heist novel." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm writing a heist novel." So yeah,
right.
I'm interested.
Sure, that's your excuse.
Yeah, exactly. But you make a really good point though. I had not considered. I was thinking watching the score this week, some Oceans movies, but I don't really learn that way. So I'm glad that you said, that you did some research, for actual heists and con men and, thieves and the morally gray area people, because I think that is a terrific idea. And I'm going to try that out because I think I learn better that way. So
yeah, well, and I feel like for me, at least, it's easier to not accidentally fall into a pattern of copying, you know what I mean, in existing media, if it's because I wasn't really basing the heist off of any real heist. I just was kind of learning who my characters were, how morally gray they are, what kinds of things they would do, how daring are they, what are their skill sets. And then once I had those pieces on the board and I had my setting on the board, it was just kind of like like that meme of Charlie Day with the strings. You know what I mean?
I totally know that.
Yeah, it's connecting the dots and seeing, okay, so we need, this, they need to get to this location, right? Which of my characters is going to be best equipped, with the skill set and the personality to get them there? Like, what are we going to have to do? So I don't know. It was fun. It was difficult, but I think that, yeah, if they're researching, kind of historical stuff and looking into the cons, because there, obviously there's real life con men and con artists. Maybe that'll be helpful.
No, yeah. I like how you said that too, skill set. I was just talking to a buddy of mine about that, and we were, because I realized I wanted mine to be more about these two thieves and then like the main villain. But then I just realized the other day, like, it really doesn't make any sense because two people couldn't pull off this hard of a job. So I was like, oh, I'm going to change one person, add a couple more, things like that. But I like how you said that skill set, because that's definitely what I'm working on this week is their skill set. So I think that's great advice.
Perfect. Yeah. Once you have those pieces, I feel like you'll be pleased with how much of the puzzle starts to come together after those pieces are on the board.
Yeah, I think a lot of those question marks will be solved by adding a few more players, and then and figuring out, like my friend, we were liking into chess, you have a bishop and they have these skills, and you really have to figure out, that's, I guess, what's, what I like about the heist so much. Like, I was thinking like either the original Italian Job or the remake with Mark Wahlberg and Charlize Theron. I really like how everybody's got their skill sets and then they have to figure out how to use them in different ways. I feel like that's like Brandon Sanderson talks about that on one of his lectures, like, because that's what he did with Mistborn. It just makes it really fun. But yeah, I think you have a good point there with trying to figure out their skill sets. So number 5 here, what point of view did you write Among Thieves in?
So Among Thieves, it is third person limited. But it is multiple POV as well. So we have 5 main points of view, which I know is kind of a lot. And some readers aren't a fan of that many POVs. I am. I love as many POVs. If I can get inside of character's head when I'm reading or writing, I'm into it. Totally. It's my jam. And I think that for Among Thieves in particular, so, as a refresher for anyone that maybe missed part 1 or has, I don't know, forgotten or whatever, the premise of Among Thieves is that we do have 6 thieves working together on a heist, but they're all actually plotting their own betrayal as well. So I felt like it was more fun for me as the writer, and I hope it's more fun for the readers to kind of see those planned betrayals come to fruition or not come to fruition inside each character's head. So you see, what they're plotting, and there are a few chapters where we'll see the same scene twice, but from different perspectives. And, you get a different flavor on it because now you're seeing this character knowing that this other character has set up these, different dominoes. So I just felt like that was the best way to tackle this particular story in my opinion, at least. And hey, I wrote it, so. Yeah.
I mean, it's clearly working because, like I said, I've seen a lot of my friends, who have read it and suggested it. I don't know. I've been debating doing that myself because it just seems like it's really difficult to just use, consistently use that, third person narrative. And it's just like, I just feel like it gets boring after a long time because it's just like, you're just telling rather than showing, I guess. And
I have written some projects that are in just like straight, third person omniscient and stuff too. And that can be, obviously it works it just depends on the project, but I find third person limited so fun because I get to utilize the the voice of the character in their chapters. You know what I mean? Where it's like, even the parts when they're not obviously talking, when we hear their internal monologue, I can still, use all their snark or their, whatever their experiences are. I will say there are 6 thieves on my heist team and I only have 5 main POVs. So it was a choice for me to leave one of the 6 out because I didn't want the reader to know everything. Before everything, you know what I'm saying? So I wanted to keep some of the mystery. So I don't know if that helps for what you're planning at all. If you're kind of tossing back and forth between, you want to have people see the glimpse, but you don't want to give away the whole game. I feel like maybe there's like a little balance you could strike, give us a couple heads, but not all the heads.
That's actually a really good idea. I haven't heard of anybody do that. And that's actually, that opens up a lot of different doors, I feel like, which is a good thing. I haven't heard anybody suggest that. So that's a great suggestion. I like just the fact that you're talking about, really using, those point of views for those characters and really making them their own. And I think that's, where a lot of, like, I've seen a lot of your reviews and things like that from different people on Twitter. I think that's where, for me, with even just seeing, not even seeing people talk about that, I just assume when they're talking about the characters that's something that they're naturally picking up and enjoying clearly. Maybe they don't even realize that. But because I've seen different points of view like that before. And that's where Mark, Tim, and I were talking. I'm like, and I did a thing the other day, I guess a couple weeks ago now, and it was like first person. I was just like, God, this is so much better. And I don't know. He's like, please don't do first person. He goes, but I'll read it either way. But I'm like, I don't know. I'm thinking, I've never done, like first person, but I do like the Jim Butcher books, but I do like, how you're using it. So definitely have to check it out and think about
I feel like you should play with it because honestly, I don't know. I know there's some readers that hate first person, especially like first person present. I know there are readers out there that are like, oh, I won't read it. Which I mean, like I got, you're allowed to read whatever you want. But like my opinion on it is the book's gonna tell you what point of view it's supposed to be in. Like I have had times, like my very first book that it didn't end up selling, but it was first person. I think it was first person present. And there's a certain immediacy to that I felt like really worked for that book. But then I was working on a different book that I'm still working on right now. And I tried to do first person present for it because I felt like that was going to work. And I got maybe like 20,000 words in and I was like, it's just not speaking to this particular story. And if there's a way to tell before you start drafting, if someone could tell me, that'd be great because then I had to go back and edit 30,000 words or 20, however many it was, to put it all in the third person limited, which is where I ended up going with it. But I feel like the book's going to tell you once you start drafting it, how it needs to be written. I don't know. That sounds kind of like crunchy granola, I know, but
I think it's great advice. And third person limited, I guess I hadn't really considered that. So maybe that's because I'm like done with draft 1 and I'm like about to be done with my edits. I'm just like, I was talking to Mark about this. I was like, something's missing. I was like, even if I don't want to do, first person for POV, I'm like, but maybe I'm going to check that out because I think maybe that is a way to go. It doesn't quite see, you're trying to fit that, circle into a square. It just doesn't.
Maybe like try rewriting like just the first scene.
That's
in
what I was thinking.
First person present and then in third person limited, and like you'll feel it. I know you'll feel it. You know what I mean, and you'll just know.
That's great advice.
Which way you go with it.
I have to quote you on that because that's really good advice. I had not considered doing that for like the first chapter, like trying one and trying the other. Because I think right there, you just, came up with a really good solution, as, like to try and feel out that book. Because you'll know right away, right? If, whichever one, you're feeling, rather than doing what I did, don't do it anybody, write the entire book and be like, because I was just like, I just want to get it done. But then I'm like, oh, that was so stupid.
I feel that though, because sometimes I hate first drafts. I feel like we talked about that in the last the last episode. I hate first drafts so much. And sometimes it is just about just barf the words out, get the story onto the paper, and then I will fix it later.
Well, it's like I was talking to Fletcher and Dirk Ashton about that, where I was just listening back on something that Dirk had said to me, in terms of writing different drafts. And I was going, because I feel like I inadvertently did what he does with first drafts. And he literally just like, I know he writes more dialogue than I did. But he'll just go through and almost write almost like a screenplay.
Okay.
And then just to get it down, just to get the the points of view and things, and then he really will dissect it later. And I think I inadvertently did that, but yeah, he mentioned it, and I was like, but I was talking to a couple people about it online the other day, and I was like, I really want to structure, in the future, like really structure better. A couple of people asked me like, oh, you're editing draft one? I'm like, yeah, because it really needed it, and the outline was horrible, and I realized like the characters didn't like it, so I'm trying to figure it out. But like Scott Oden said, he does like a 50-page like outline where he like really, really does it. So I think I might try that actually, and then
yeah, I feel like too, and I've heard, I think it might be Sanderson that said this, that like every book might have a different process.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was Sanderson, someone famous.
No, I think you're right. Yeah, I think it was online lectures or one of those interviews. Yeah.
Like I've heard someone very famous in the industry say that, but it's so true because I've always said, I'm a big time plotter. I will do all my world building. I do my outlining in Excel. Like it's crazy. And that has worked for a lot of projects, but right now the book, we were talking about it before we started recording a little bit. I'm doing NaNoWriMo for November, and right, and it's the first time I've ever done Nano, and I'm pantsing this novel. Like I came in no outline, no plan.
Oh, okay.
I had 3 characters and a world, and I just set them free. And I mean, let's be clear, it's a train wreck. This thing is going to be a bear to edit, but it's like, it's flowing, it's going really well. And I've tried pantsing before and it didn't work. So I don't know. I'll never learn how to write a book. It's different. I'll never know.
He said that in their newest Wizards, Warriors, and Words. He's like, every time I go to write a book, he goes, I can't, effing figure it out. And he goes like,
no, yeah. Like, and I'm always like, did I forget how to write a book? And I feel like maybe I did, but also maybe it's just like literally every book is just like its own beast.
Yeah.
I forget who said it. I need to like start writing these quotes down so I can like quote people properly. But someone said that the book you're writing right now doesn't know about the other books you've written.
Yeah.
Which is like an artsy way to say it, but like it's so true. Like this one
it really is though.
That I've written all these other ones. It doesn't know.
Oh yeah. We think of like book 1, and I was just looking at a couple of people's TikToks, and they say like book 1, and then some people are now on book 2 that I know, and they're just like, oh my God, they're like, it's totally different, and I'm like, but it is. And then I think quite a few people have mentioned that over the last couple of years. Then book 3 is different than book 2, and even if it's not in the same series, and like you're constantly. I think you have a really good point there, like. And I think some people really try to slug through it the same way that they did other books. And I think that's really good suggestion. Like maybe that's not what we should be doing. Maybe we should just be trying something new and
something different, even though it's scary because it's like, well, what if this doesn't work? You know what I mean? Yeah. But I mean, if it doesn't work, then so what? Just edit it. You can fix it.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah. That's really, really good advice. Yeah, I like that. I'm going to think about that more in the future. You guys heard it here first from Mallory Kuhn. Okay?
Which I inadvertently stole from other authors that talked about it that I can't remember who they said it, so I can't quote them.
I know that feeling. Like Jen Hearn constantly takes these really good notes. I feel like I listen to different people, like just all sorts of people, and it's like, and then I'm reading different people. I'm listening to their book talks, or they're looking at Twitter, and I just feel like I do it so much throughout my day that it's just a natural thing now where I'm not like Jed, where I stop and take my notes. I'm just like, oh, that's
right. Cool. You're just like absorbing.
Yeah. Ooh, absorbing. That's a good word for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm with you. Fellow absorber of knowledge without actually writing anything down.
Yeah. Well, we kind of talked about this in our last podcast, but I'm curious, what advice would you give others trying to write around their day job?
Yes. So as people who have like followed me on Twitter and stuff know, I do have a full-time job too outside of writing. So this is very much my jam as a question, because this is hard. Like it's hard, you're doing it too. A lot of people are doing it. Obviously, like I know we're not the only 2 people in the world.
Yeah.
But like it's difficult. And I feel like I have a couple pieces of advice. So like number 1 is one that's like difficult because you might not actually have direct immediate control over this. But I feel like if you can like move this way over time, if you surround yourself with people who respect your writing as an endeavor, not like just a hobby that you're doing for fun on the weekends, right? Like it's an endeavor, it's a project, even if you're not calling it like a career or a job. If you find people and surround yourself with people, friends, spouses, housemates, whoever that actually respects that and will like respect the boundary. If you set it, if they say, oh, can you come to this thing? And you say, no, I have to write. That makes a huge difference. Also, I'm bad at this one. I'm really bad at this one. Like don't compare yourself to other writers. Like your word count for the day, or like how many books, if so-and-so is putting out 3 books a year or whatever, like, especially I know in the, like in the indie and self-pub community, like that's a total thing, is to just bam, 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 releasing 5 books in a year or whatever. And if you're not able to do that, like, that's okay. Like, relax. It's okay. I'm giving this advice. I don't listen to it, but maybe someday I'll listen to it too.
I don't think like we can't all be Lindsay Baroker and do like 5 books a year.
Yeah, like it's just, you know what? Some people just write faster. That's just like a thing. And then also like maybe they don't have a full-time job. Maybe they're writing full-time, and maybe, someday that will be you, but it's not right now. So like don't bother comparing yourself to it right now. Like it's tough though, because I totally compare myself to other writers like on the daily. So don't feel like I'm dropping this edict down from on high. Like I am definitely struggling with this daily. But it's like I feel like I would be happier if I didn't do that. But the last piece of advice I have here is actually like a brand new thing that I'm trying, that we talked again like a little before we started recording. Writing sprints. Dude, writing sprints. People have been talking to me about writing sprints. I've been seeing like, oh, meet me for a writing sprint on Twitter. Like, does anyone want to sprint with me on Twitter for, whatever the next hour? And I've always been like, oh, weird. Okay, I'm not going to do that because I don't know what that is. And I, like, you know what I mean? Like, I have a process, it's working, whatever. No, totally. I looked into it because I'm very busy right now. I actually just started a new full-time job a couple months ago. You know what I mean? So it's like, everything is like very in flux right now, and I'm trying to do nano. So I was like, okay, let me try this writing sprint thing. I've been doing like 3 or 4 15-minute sprints a day. Like I'll do one maybe in the morning before work, and then like 1 or 2 on my lunch break, and then maybe 1 or 2 after work, some collection of all of those depending on when I have time.
And then you have an hour.
Yeah. And it's like an hour total, but it's spread throughout the day. In like little pockets of time, and I've been knocking out like 2,000 words a day.
That's a great
like, that's insane. Like that's an insane amount of productivity in like really little pockets of time. So if you're like stupid busy and don't have time, like do 2 sprints a day. Do like 1 in the morning and 1 in the evening. 15 minutes, and then like maybe you wrote 1,000 words. Like amazing. So that's my other advice.
I think that's terrific advice, and that's what I was doing in the summer and stuff. I would actually go to work for summer school. I'd get there 15 minutes early, usually half hour. I would get what I had to get done, and I'd have at least 20 minutes before the kids would get there. So I'd bust out 15 minutes, and then I'd set it. I wouldn't even count it. I would set it aside. And then when I got home, I would do the next like 15. I'd take a nap, go somewhere with my wife, go to the gym, go to karate, come back. And I would do 2 more, and then just, before dinner, after dinner. And then it was like, I was at like 2,500 words, 2,700 words. That's like a pretty nice sized chapter. Some people do that in a day,
right.
Time writers. And I'm like, man, like, I totally agree with you. I think it's like a workout, like a workout buddy. I think if you do it with somebody, like I had, I think we talked about this before. I had some friends on Discord, and there were 2 of them in particular that we had the same schedule. So be like, hey, who wants to sprint? So I'd go in there, and then me and one of the guys were really competitive. Like we wanted to beat each other. So then if we didn't, we would go again. So it's like we were constantly doing like half an hour, 45 minutes, or an hour toward the end of the evening. It was really fun.
Just sprints. Well, and that's like, so I don't have people that I sprint with, because like, maybe, hopefully I will eventually, but like my schedule is so weird right now. But I have this app. So if anyone out there wants to sprint and needs like accountability, but doesn't have a friend that sounded really sad. I don't have any friends. Doesn't have like a friend on the same schedule.
Mallory wants writing friends, guys. Let's do this.
Right? Please, I'm desperate. No. It's an app. It's called Planty.
Okay.
But like literally what it is it's a timer and it's an accountability tracker. So once you start the timer, if you do anything else on your phone during that timer, nope, X doesn't count. And it's like a gamified little thing. So it's kind of dumb. Like you grow plants, you know what I mean? So like if you make it through your sprint, like your tree grows or whatever, like it's dumb, but it's like, if you go on Twitter in the middle of your writing sprint, you don't get your tree. That tree doesn't grow. It's upsetting. So, I mean, you know what I mean? It's like accountability and in a really silly way, but it's a free app. So like, that's why I downloaded it. But
well, it's kind of like Facebook. I used to love this. And it's so stupid to me now, but like I used to love it. There was this so when 3.5 came out and then 4th edition for D&D came out, they did like this Facebook game. And if you logged into Facebook like so many times and went into the game, like it was kind of like Pokemon Go. Like you would get different things, and it was really cool. Like, and I would constantly go into Facebook and be checking to see if I gotten a magic item or whatever. And my friend was like, "We spent so much time on this." He's like, "There's nothing there. Like you don't even get anything." He's like, "It's just
there's just something. It's just like that little shot of dopamine."
Yeah. We're like, "Oh, I got this thing," or whatever. Like. Yeah. And I think that's why Pokemon Go is so successful, because it took this, walking, like, which, some people are like, "Oh, I hate walking," but they will walk just to get that, their egg to hatch or something like that.
Right. Which is like, again, you don't actually get anything in the real world for it, but like, who cares? You know what I mean? If they're having fun with it and it's producing something great.
Yeah. What we should do is we should come up with a writing app for fantasy authors and sci-fi authors where instead of like a tree, it's like, like you get different quest items, or you're building, you get like armor or weapons or something, and like, then we should just gamify it more.
No, but like literally, you have no idea how well that would work for me.
I feel
because like right now I'm literally like saving up sprint points to buy a cherry tree so I can grow a pink tree instead of a green one. And like, I don't really care about cherry trees. But like, if you're going to tell me that I can like, get, I don't know, Enduril, you know what I mean? Like if I've done this many sprints,
like a different skin or something, you get like Aragorn or like Eowyn or like just whatever, I think it'd be really
that would be effective.
Well, like I did a coding game with the kids, and years ago, probably like 3 or 4 years ago, I was teaching technology, and we were doing, it was called Code Combat. It was so much fun. You like code, and then you get your person with the code to like slash a goblin, go over here, jump over this, slash another goblin, and then when you're done, you like get different items. And like it was so much fun because you got coding in a game format, and it was like really addicting, and I got stuck on one thing for like a week. I was like, oh my gosh, this is ticking me off. And like I figured it out just so I could get to like the next item.
So you want to get to the next level? That's like, I'm gonna really date myself here. I think you're a fellow old, and I say that with love. Did you ever play Math Blasters?
Oh my God, that was such a great game. That game was epic. that
was my jam. And I hate math. I still hate math. I never liked math, but like I liked Math Blasters. Yep.
Oh man, I just realized like my life would be so much simpler at school if we like brought that, like redid that game and brought it back. But it's the same concept, right? Yeah,
totally is, because you had to, I forget exactly what it was, but you were like a little spaceman, and you had to like, you had a little laser gun, I think, and you had to like shoot the division sign if it's a dividing thing. You know what I mean? Shoot the number. That's the answer.
Couple of them growing up, and I remember like every single one was so much fun.
Oh yeah, and you're playing a game, and then your parents will let you play it for like hours because you're doing math. It's like a win-win.
We need to do that in a writing format.
Seriously, can someone out there that knows computer coding and game design, can someone just gamify my entire life? Thank you.
We're writing books, we're too busy for that, but
I don't know the technology. I can't.
Well, I always like talk about one of my gaming ideas, and I'm like, I just want somebody to help me do it just so I could sell it to like Wizards of the Coast, because it would be so good and everybody would want to play it.
You're like, I want to play it, so we need to make this happen.
Yeah, my friends were like, God, that'd be so cool. They're like, it'd even be like a good drinking game too. And I was like, I didn't think about that, but I was like, because there was a few that they came up with recently here in like Rochester, New York, at this one brewery, and then they'd actually sold their app, and their they have like a couple of like a card game, and they also have like another game too, which was like it's almost like cups, and I don't know, I just thought that was a really interesting idea that they're like, just came up with like a silly game, and then all of a sudden it's like, worth like hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Right?
And I'm like, man,
It's like Ben Wyatt and Parks and Rec, if you ever watched
oh,
that.
totally, yes, totally.
Cones
Yeah.
of Dunshire.
Yeah, and I'm thinking like if you do a Cones of Dunshire, like, and then it becomes like a cult classic, or even like on Reddit or something for Reddit fans.
Right?
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, it'd be awesome. Well, we're gonna be working on that, guys, for the third interview. So okay, so I love this one. So because I love the cover art for your novel. So who did the cover art for your novel, and how did you decide on that cover? Because it has the vibe, like totally.
It's perfect. It's flawless. I can say all of this because it's not bragging, because I had nothing to do with the cover. So Chris McGrath did the cover art. He's a genius. And like when my publisher told me that they were, that Chris McGrath was going to be doing the cover, I like freaked out because I have books on my bookshelf well, not the bookshelf, but in the bookshelf in the other room, but like the Halo book, you know what I mean? Like I have books that he's done the cover art for before. So I was like, oh my God. But yeah, no, literally, whatever the process is, he's a wizard and a magician, and I don't know how. I mean, I assume he probably either got a synopsis or read it before he made the artwork, but they sent me like the original proof, which like wasn't as completely, like it wasn't exactly the same as this, but it was like the gist of it. And I like literally opened the picture on my phone and I like started weeping, like, because it's so perfect. And, I could never have, if someone had asked me what I wanted from the cover, I don't know what I would have said, honestly, but I don't know that I would have been able to articulate what it was that Chris produced. And it's amazing. Yeah. So I'm in love with it. And it's fun because like it's my favorite compliment to receive on the book, because like I just get to accept the compliment because I didn't do anything with it. I was like, yeah, isn't it great? It's the best.
I mean, it really like pops, just with like the color scheme, and I love like I sometimes, like when I'm having a bad day, I just go on his art station and I just look at some of those covers, because like I can't just bring 5 different huge books with me like to work, so I just look at covers, and it really makes me feel better, because it's like, it reminds me that like no offense to anybody, it reminds me my day job is my day job, and I get to come home and do other things in this world. And yeah, he'd be my dream, either him or Felix Ortiz would be like my dream artists. Like the two of them are my 2 favorites, and I actually did not know that. I want to look it up so bad, and somebody almost told me the other day, and I said no, do not. I said, because I came up with this question for Mallory. I said, and I feel so much better not knowing, because it's funny, because Felix was talking about how like one of Giovanni's covers, like he can, recognize it instantly. And it's funny to me that I was drawn to this cover because, I'm a huge Chris McGrath fan. So
well, I was just gonna say you could feel it. Well, and it's like a little differenty. I feel like maybe not super differenty for him, but a lot of times he does like full like faces on the covers of his books, and this one is like just a back silhouette, which I really like, because it's Raya is a very mysterious character, and I kind of feel like it lends to that mystery that we don't get to see her face on the cover. But yeah, so maybe that's why you didn't recognize it like immediately, you know what I mean, because it's like a slightly different from his like core stuff that he does a lot of the time. I don't know, but yeah, so he's the wizard that did my cover art, and I love it, and would love for him to do all of my covers for the rest of my life. If you're ever listening to this, Chris, just give me a call. Let me know.
Yeah. So I have a couple of artists coming in the winter, and somebody had mentioned, they're like, oh, you should ask Chris. I was like, I so want to ask Chris.
Right? You're like, but what if I'm starstruck?
Yeah, like, oh my God, yeah. Like I would fangirl so hard. Like it wouldn't be funny. So yeah, I have a few people like that for artists, because I was originally gonna go like be an illustrator. I don't think I was like that good, but like I was working really hard at it, and I loved it. But like I ended up like teaching instead and stuff. But I love art, and Chris is like just like, to me, like one of the like him and Giovanni and Felix are like pinnacles, and like
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, well, and cover, like, I know everyone's like, oh, don't judge a book by the cover, that old adage or whatever,
Well,
but it's
68% of people do.
You do. I'm one of the 68%. Like, it's not like I will refuse to read a book if I don't like the cover, but like, if I'm just like browsing, like walking through the bookstore, like that's, you know what I mean? That's what's going to make me stop and pick something up and look at it. So, yeah, super important.
No, I totally agree. I actually saw your book at Barnes and Noble near me the other day, which was really cool. I remember we had something happen. I think my wife had like emergency. So I was like trying to get a picture and send it to you on Twitter on the way out. But I was like, oh, that's so cool. So if we go back today and it's there, hopefully it's not, no offense, we want it sold. But
someone snagged it maybe.
Yeah. If it's there, we'll take a selfie with it and send it to you.
I love it.
Really cool, but it definitely, it definitely popped out, on the shelf. And yeah, it looked really, really good among the fantasy section. So yeah, we were really happy to see it there. But like I said, I don't see it today.
Right? Yeah. Anytime someone sends me like a picture of my book out in the wild, like I don't know if I'll ever get sick of it, but I'm definitely not yet. Like
that's fair.
I get like a happy jig anytime someone's like, I saw your book at, wherever. I'm like, you did, it's there.
Yeah, I really can't wait for that, because like DM Murray like has that a lot, like people, because I have friends with him on Facebook, and people like always tag him, and I just get so jealous of him, because I'm just like, man, you have a lot of books out there, man. Like there's just like so many people. I'm just like, wow, like, and it's always, and I never really thought of it before, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. So yeah, we've been trying to to do that more. I feel like every time we go out, like I'm excited tonight, because like when we go to Barnes and Noble and this other bookstore, like I actually have time to browse, and we're not like, lately we've been in such a hurry.
You're just in and out and barely even looking at everything else. You're like laser focused.
Yeah, exactly. Like I had just enough time when we were at my mother-in-law's to grab a book from one of the independent bookstores. And it was actually oh my gosh, the Blackhawks. I'm totally blanking on David's last name. But yeah, so I was like, I had just enough time before dinner to grab his book and pop out, and I don't even know like what else is there. Yeah, but it was cool for a while, because there were a lot of people. Like I would expect to see yours there really soon, because they have just like blown up with indie, which is cool for me, because I'm like, I know all these people. Like,
right? Isn't that fun? Yeah, like that's cool. My husband gets really annoyed with me when we go to the bookstore now, because like literally I'm like, that's my friend, and like half the time when I say friend, I actually mean like we're mutuals on Twitter, but like it counts. Okay, like we're friends.
It totally counts. You're coworkers. See,
it's my colleague and my other job.
Yeah, I did a book talk, and then with like saying, oh, I know that person on Twitter, that person, and my friend sent me the gif of Thor being like, it's a friend, he's a friend from work. Yeah. And I thought, it's so true. Like,
it is though. That's like exactly how it is. And I'm very annoying at the bookstore now though. It's like,
I've always been annoying at the bookstore.
Well, yeah, that's true. But yeah, I've always been annoying to bookshop with, unless you were equally ready to spend 3 hours in the bookstore, then we're perfect book shopping companions.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm right there. My wife's like, she spent one time like 3 hours at Michael Kors, and it was like one of the little ones. And then I was
no.
Yeah, it's like we went, and then oh my gosh, we went to this one Barnes and Noble. I'm totally like blanking on where it was. Oh, it was at Rutgers University. And if you ever have a chance, like go in. It's like 3 stories, and they have the Rutgers like university store there. So you get, and they have like an amazing like creative writing like program there. So you get to see all the teachers, and some friend recommended me on Twitter. He goes, go down to the basement. You get to see all the creative writing teachers, like recommendations for graphic novels and books and everything. And it was really cool. Like one of the teachers was teaching like Mistborn. Yeah, there were just so many. And I just picked up some cool historical fiction books there. Yeah, it was really cool. But yeah, we were like there for, I don't even know, like almost 2 hours. I mean, there was
it's 3 floors. That's so many.
So much. And they had so many cool like Rutgers things. It's like a Rutgers, like Barnes and Noble essentially.
Yeah.
It was super, super cool. So
that sounds like I could get lost in that store too.
Oh, yeah. We literally could have spent like all day there, and they had like a cool cafe, and it wasn't like your typical Barnes and Noble. Even like the young adult section was like bigger than most places. So yeah, it was super, super cool. So anybody listening, I highly recommend it. If you go to Rutgers, just go
right. Check out that Rutgers bookstore. You heard it here first.
From campus too, so you can actually walk right into campus.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Yeah, I've never been to Rutgers before, but I've heard, heard it's a nice campus.
Yeah. It's super cool. So speaking of books, I mentioned one, but who are some authors or writers or different books that you would suggest for our audience? Like I said, I'm putting together that list the next couple of weeks. So we've had just random ones that have been great recommendations. Some people thought them out. I'm just curious at, what your opinion on it is on that.
So I have a bunch you sent me this question beforehand, so I came ready.
Perfect.
Because you know what happens? This is what I had to prepare, and I'm so glad that you sent me this question before, because usually it's kind of like the old joke of like when someone asks where you want to go for dinner, and as soon as they ask, every restaurant you've ever been to leaves your brain and you have no idea. Yeah. Same thing happens to me when people are like, what are your favorite books? And I'm like, what's a book? Like I forget every book I've ever read in that moment.
Yeah.
So I wrote some down.
That's perfect.
All of these are very recent recommendations. So none of these are like perennial favorites, but these are ones that are newer that I've read within the last like year.
Oh, perfect.
That I really liked. So first of all is Hall of Smoke by H.M. Long. It's a really like epic. I've comped it to Skyrim on my TikTok channel. So yeah, it's kind of like Norse inspired fantasy world. Your main character is a warrior priestess who has a power where she can shatter bones with a scream. And she's like on an adventure, and there's like, it's an interesting fantasy world where there's gods that are in the world walking around with the people. So she interacts with a bunch of the gods. So it's like very mythological in that way.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, I really liked that one. Another one that just came out this year that I really liked, sticking with the mythology trend, is The Witch's Heart by Genevieve Gornicek. People have compared it to like Circe by Madeline Miller. It is similar in the sense that it is based on a myth. This one's based on a Norse myth. So it follows the story of Angrboda, which is Loki's giantess wife. So yeah, you get to see Loki in the book, but the story is from Angrboda's perspective, and it like basically goes through the events leading up to Ragnarok.
Oh, that's cool.
From her perspective. Yeah. So that one was really good. Another one that I've read this year, it's called The Effort. It's by Claire Holroyd. I read this book in like literally 2 sittings.
Oh, wow.
And I know we've talked about like how hard it is to get through books sometimes right now, not because they're not good, just because we're busy.
Yeah.
And I couldn't stop reading this book. I couldn't put it down. It's, there's an asteroid that's coming toward Earth. It's set in like realistic near future, but it's sci-fi. And like it goes through a bunch of different perspectives. I think there's like maybe 9 POVs probably throughout the whole thing. I'm just guessing, it might be more, it might be less, where you're seeing people that are in different parts of the world dealing with the fact that the world is about to end. And it was like reading it during a pandemic, which like obviously the world's not ending, but like, because I read it like earlier this year because it came out in January. It was like a moment, like I had feelings. Yeah, like one of those books, like you finish reading it and you close it, you just kind of stare at the wall for a little while. Yeah. So if you're looking for a book to hit you in the feels, that was definitely a good one. Another one that I've read recently that actually the sequel is out now too and is also amazing. The first book though is called The Last Watch. It's by J.S. Lewis. It's I comp this one to Mass Effect. I've seen people comp it to The Expanse though too, where it's basically the premise is the reject soldiers in this, sci-fi world are sent to guard the edge of the universe against alien attacks coming from neighboring universes. But there's no one coming, so they're basically just sent to the edge of the world to rot. And things happen that make it hazardous to be out there. That's all I'll say. It's very good. It's really good. It's fun. It's like written in like kind of a snarky, like the main character is like a very snarky kind of guy. And I really like him.
He's like Nathan Fillion's character in Firefly a little bit. Like...
Yeah, a little bit. So yeah, and then you have like your kind of upstanding commander character. It's very good. I enjoyed that one too. I have just a few more. I'm so sorry.
No. I actually that one's been on my list for quite a while. And I totally, the other day, a couple weeks ago, someone else had mentioned the Hall of Smoke. So I was trying to remember where I had seen it. So I must have seen it on your Twitter or something at some point.
Oh yeah, maybe. Yeah, because Hall of Smoke has a sequel coming out. And I actually, I blurbed the sequel. I got to read an arc of it, and it's honestly, I think it's debatably better than the first book. Like, it's very good.
Oh, wow.
As well. So yeah, A+. Comes out in January. So the next one that I'll talk about it's called Son of the Storm. It's by C. Davies Okunbawa. Yeah, it's very
I bought
good.
it. I haven't read it yet.
You should read it. It's so good. It's like it's some of the most like rich fantasy world building that is completely different from any rich fantasy world building I've ever seen before. You know what I mean? It's just a totally different, it's not set in like a, standard Western medieval setting. Yeah, it was very good. There is another book coming, maybe it's out, I don't know, I'm having trouble keeping track of these, but that one was really good. I will reread that one for sure. It's like one of those ones that I read it, I enjoyed it, but I think when I reread it, I'll like get more of a oomph even.
Yeah.
Another one that just came out, actually my book birthday twin, it came out on September 7th, the same day as my book. It's called No Gods, No Monsters by Cadwell Turnbull. I also read this one in like 2 days. It's basically monsters, so like werewolves and stuff are real, and in New York City is where it's set, or some of it's set in New York City. It's set in a bunch of different places, but and people are starting to discover that monsters are real and coming to terms with it in the real world.
Oh, that's cool.
And there's like a bunch of different perspectives, very diverse perspectives, lots of representation as well. But it just like, it's another one where like when I finished it, closed it, stare at the wall. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was very, it's a little, I won't say it's like super literary. So like if that scares you off, don't let it scare you off, anyone that's listening. But it was definitely more like, it's beautiful. You know what I mean? It's really beautiful the way it's written. So
that's cool.
I liked that one a lot too. This is the last one, I think this one came out this year too. All these other ones came out this year. The Black Tongue Thief, is that this year or did that come out last year? I think it might have come out this year. By Christopher Buehlman.
Yeah, I don't remember now. So it feels like last year was like 4 years. So
time isn't real anymore. I say this all the time, where it's like, oh, that happened 2 months ago, and I'm like, oh, I thought it was last year. You know what I mean? It's like everything is fake.
No, I totally agree with that.
Like it's nuts. But yeah, so Tongue Thief, if you like morally great characters, if you like snarky, tongue-in-cheek commentary from your narrators, it's amazing. it's I like literally was laughing out loud at part, you know what I mean? It's like one of those books that actually like made me chuckle out loud while I'm reading, which like is rare. Basically I'm gonna completely water it down, but the main character is he was in the Thieves Guild, and essentially like he has student loan debt to the Thieves Guild, and now is like on this rollicking adventure to try to like get out of his debt, and he meets a bunch of people, and like there's goblins. He has a cat sidekick, if that's not enough to win you over.
That's
I don't
cool.
know it is. But yeah, that one I really enjoyed. That one, that was good. And then the last two that I'll talk about did not come out this year, but I read them because I'm behind. One is a sci-fi, it's called The Light Brigade. It's by Cameron Hurley. I always say this is the book that broke my brain. In a good way.
Yeah.
So like the concept is that like humanity has learned how to teleport basically, but it like comes at a cost, and the main character finds themselves teleporting through time. and they're experiencing the story out of order.
Oh, that's cool.
And so every time they teleport to a different point in the story. And as the reader, you don't know where, and they don't know where they are. They don't know what's going on. Members of their crew that were dead are alive again, or people that have been around have now been apparently dead for 5 years or whatever. And they just saw them 2 minutes ago. You know what I mean?
No, yeah.
It broke my brain, but it was so good. It was so good. And then the last one, I won't even have to explain it because everyone else on earth has read it. I am just a million years late. I finally read Way of Kings by Sanderson, and it's so good. It's so good. I know it's a real fat book, you guys. I know it's chunky if you've been putting it off because you're scared of it. Just do it on audiobook. That's how I read the first one. I'm reading the rest of the series like in the book form. But I did read the first one on audiobook because it's real chunky. She's thick. Okay. But it's good. And the audiobook's great too. The narrators are the same ones that did the Wheel of Time series cool. On audiobooks. They're great. Yeah, they're awesome. But anyways, that's it. I'll stop rambling about all the books I love now.
I have not. Yeah, I haven't really heard. I mean, I've heard people talk about the Light Brigade, but it hasn't been like, I like when people like, you know, like someone like you shares it on Twitter because I'm like, okay, I can look it up or save it or whatever. That one, like people kept talking about it. You can definitely tell like where most of my friends are in the community. Most of them are in the fantasy. So I think that's mostly why I've been trying to, you know, to get more sci-fi books. Just because I haven't the last few years. But that was talked about a lot on quite a few podcasts I listened to.
Okay, yeah.
And you know, I haven't had time to. I get to work, you know, and after school is different, but going into.
And you didn't write it down because you were driving, and then it's gone forever. Yeah, I'm with you.
I'm really glad you mentioned that one. So, and I keep forgetting about the Black-Tongued Thief. I'm gonna have to check that. Like I said, I'm doing like. I'm sure my wife's gonna be like, what are you doing? Like reading all these like Thieves books.
Right? You're like, no. Yeah, that's right. You are reading a lot of Thieves and Heisty books. So yeah, Black-Tongued Thief, add that to your Thieves and Heisty book list. It's very good. The like, main character is very heisty. He's like, so yeah, he's great.
Yeah, that's definitely gonna have to go on my list. All right. Well, those are some excellent suggestions. I think the one I'm most interested in is like the Light Brigade, Hall of Smoke personally, and then The Last Watch and The Son of the Storm. That one, like I said, I bought probably like I think the last time I went to my mother-in-law's. It was right before I got David's book, The Blackhawks. I was just like, oh, this book, it just sounds so awesome. And quite a few people had recommended it. And I'm just so like, I actually, fun fact for everybody, originally I was like, okay, I'll just do like a Mediterranean setting for my novel. And then I was like, oh, I'm just so over like the European thing. So then I like have been changing everything over to more a Middle Eastern, and I moved the whole entire country over actually in my world for my players and stuff. And it actually has ended up so much better. And a lot of things that I was doing for a historical fiction book, I put into this one. So yeah,
I love that. Just
definitely looking forward to reading that one.
The story will tell you what it needs.
Yeah. It told me it needed to move out, you know.
Right. You could have told me that a draft ago. That would have been great. But you know.
Yeah. You couldn't have done that a little sooner.
Nope. The story does things on its own time.
My friend said it's like the Mississippi, it meanders. So
I love it. It's so true though.
It really is though, yeah. So do you have any products, promotions, what projects, anything new that you're working on?
Yeah, so projects that I'm working on, I'm working on my nano book. That's a hot steaming pile of garbage, but it's fun. Don't worry, if I ever get it published, it will be pretty by then. But yeah, I have a couple other projects. I have a fantasy adventure trilogy that I'm working on. Okay. I'm kicking around some other ideas that are set in the Among Thieves world, because I spent so much time building that world, and a lot of readers have been responding to it. And so I'm hoping if there's enough interest, I can tell some more stories in that world because it's so fun. I like that world too. But yeah, the only thing that I presently have to promote is my firstborn book baby, Among Thieves. So it's out now, mjkuhn.com, Kuhn for Kuhn, has all the links. So if you're interested, if you like morally great characters and thieves and heisty things, and you don't mind a healthy dose of curse words in your fantasy novels, then come check it out.
We're gonna have to send this back to you, as that's gonna be like your next blurb for it.
Right.
All right.
I feel like I should warn people about the curse words though, because like my characters are thieves and they're rogues and they swear a lot, and I feel like it's organic. But if you are offended by swearing, you will not enjoy this book because it's in there.
Yeah. Well, that's like somebody said for like somebody had read Beyond Redemption. I'm totally just too tired this week, but Mike's second book set in that world. And then they were like, in a review, they're like, oh, I love the first two, but I couldn't stand the swearing in this third one. And we were like, you read the first two? And you
Right. They just started noticing it and we're suddenly very upset.
Yeah. I think Rob's, it was like in Never Die or something. Somebody had a review where it was like, it was pretty good up until the constant swearing. It's just like,
I don't read my reviews, but I bet you there's probably some that are like that for mine. And if that's true, you know what? They have a point. There's a lot of swearing.
Yeah.
I find it fun. If you don't find it fun, maybe you won't want to read it.
Or just pretend like you're in that world and that's like a normal.
Yeah. Well, like they're thieves that are on a deadly mission with their lives on the line. Are they gonna say like, golly gee? Like, no, they're not. Anyways, personal opinion.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, I'm definitely gonna send that back to you as a quote for your blurb. So.
Thank you. Yeah.
So again, guys, we really want to thank you for coming on. Again, this is part 2 of Mallory Kuhn's interview. You'll be able to find both of these. I'm so thankful for Dave, my best friend and my tech guy. He was able to help me figure out the audio on Spotify and the RSS feed as well. You can find this both episodes on YouTube. So just make sure you guys are checking us out. Give us a like, a share, a follow. I really don't care about myself, but people like Mallory, really deserve, just more book sales.
Yes, please.
Yeah, so that's the whole reason why we're doing the podcast. Make sure you also, if you feel like you want to share something, like maybe you really read Among Thieves and you're like, oh my gosh, I really want to like tell Mary how much I loved it, or you have a comment or a question, please feel free to email me at scholarsofuma, that's UMA @gmail.com. I talk to these people just about every day, so I will be sure to pass those comments and questions along. Please make sure you guys are checking out our other podcasts. That way we can get everybody, up there in sales. Hopefully everybody becomes a #1, New York Times bestseller because of this podcast. That would make me feel so good. If you guys have any questions for future guests, or, like, oh my gosh, we need Mallory back so bad. So we'll make sure we put those people at the start of our list for the second half of season 1. If you guys have any pictures or videos that are fantasy or sci-fi related, just send them to me. Mallory, thank you so much for coming. Again, it was a pleasure. Can't wait to have you back in the future and talk some more about your book recommendations, or, just writing tips in general. So thank you so much.
Love it. Yeah. Thanks so much for having me on and having me back for part 2. Cause we got carried away in part 1, but it's always a good thing.
It was so good though. I was going back and listening the other day. I was like, oh, there were so many good things. And I had you, Scott Oden, and Michael R. Fletcher all on the same day. And it was just like, bam, 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 bam.
Just a day of.
It was awesome. I was just like flying high, by 2:00. She was like, man, that sounded really good. I was like, I know. I was like, everybody had really good stuff to say. So she was like, I think your other 2 ran over. I was like, I almost had to have them back for episode 2. I was like, I'm okay with it.
Like, it'll be fine. We'll figure it out.
Exactly. Well, I hope you have a good rest of the day. And as always, my friend, I will see you on Twitter. And, good luck the rest of this month. I really hope you meet your goal for November for NaNoWriMo. So
yes, thank you so much. Me too. I will see you on Twitter.
Oh, yeah, all the time. I'll talk to you later. Have a good rest of the day, Mallory.
All right, you too. Bye.